Like violence, you kill me forever and after.
Can't count all the eyes that stare.
But you can count on this being another episode of American Brews and Tunes.
Here's a theme song, you know it's not a mean song. It's a good song, just as it should song. American Brews and Tunes.
Shibbity beeby dow.
And we're back. This
man.
is episode number 69 of American Brews and Tunes.
Oh, yeah.
It's a one-off, everybody.
Yep.
A one-off. More like a fun-off, if you catch my drift. But anyways, like all other one-offs, we're going to be reviewing one beer and one album.
That is correct.
The album that we've been listening to is blink-182's 2003 masterpiece, the Untitled Album.
I would agree with that statement on all accounts.
Same here. Triple agree. I would agree on your agreeal. Is that a word? Agreeal?
Agreeal?
Agreement.
Yeah, agreement is what you'd use.
Agreeing nature.
You're,
Agreeal. I like that word.
agreeal. It could be well, it's a word.
It's a word now.
You just said it. It's a word.
Well, words aside, we'll get back to that Blink-182 album. But first, as we always do, let's talk about the beer.
Yeah, what are we having today?
We're having a big, bold stout from Evil Twin Brewing.
It seems like it's going to be a massive stout.
And we've had some of their big beers before. They're potent. They're
Yeah.
Imperial stouts. They're Imperial IPAs.
Very potent.
Pretty much anything Imperial from Evil Twin is usually over the top, would you say?
It's almost evil how over the top it is.
Yeah, it is evil. But this one in particular has got it's got a lot going on.
It's got a long name.
The title is Imperial Biscotti Bourbon Maple Syrup Barrel Aged.
Just like the title is a mouthful, I'm sure the beer will be a mouthful as well.
Yeah, but it's a pretty potent brew, coming in at 11.5%.
Yes.
I would say it's probably going to be a sipper.
I think so, yeah.
I think it's going to be very thick.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming it's going to be fairly sweet with the maple syrup.
I think so. I think
and the
there's going to
biscotti.
be. I'm hoping that the biscotti gives it a little bit of a breadiness.
But I hope the bourbon comes through.
I'm sure it will. And I'm also hoping you were about to open the beer, so I combined hoping and opening. Opening.
It's a grand opening, everybody.
A grand opening.
Gather round for the grand opening.
I'm hoping that it's only a slight maple.
I love maple. So
Slight enough to get a good taste of it, but
not.
I don't want it to
too
be
potent.
overpowering. Yeah.
Fair enough. Well, here's what they say: Imperial Porter aged in bourbon-flavored maple syrup barrels.
Bourbon flavored maple syrup barrels.
Yeah, so I don't know what that means, but
I don't know what that means either.
And I'm not about to investigate.
No.
I'm about to open this brew.
Gonna open it up and pour it.
It smells.
And then taste it.
It smells like all those real potent, like the barrel aged.
All the normal kind of stout
like a KBS or the Goose Island Bourbon County.
Yeah, all the normal smells that you get from one of those.
So I'll go ahead and pour this.
Let's do it up.
Wow, I pour so fast.
Dude, you really do.
You can call me the Pour Master 3000.
Pour Master 4000.
It's over 3,000.
Well, why don't we give it a sniff first before we try it?
Yes.
And before we cheers.
Even though we're not drinking this out of snifter glasses. Also, I have to make an announcement.
Okay.
This is the first beer I've had in almost 3 weeks.
Oh, yeah. Very, very true.
I gave up recreational beers for Lent.
Yeah.
I'm not Catholic. I just wanted to give something up for the sake of it.
How's it been going?
It's rough, man.
Yeah.
I'm going to concerts, going to
everywhere.
comedy shows or whatever. We played at a house show where everyone was drinking beer. And I was like, I can't have any.
Yeah.
But it's okay. So I'm excited to enjoy a beer for the podcast.
Yeah.
And then I won't have another one until the next episode.
Yep.
Unfortunately. But I'm
Smells
going
pretty
to
good.
enjoy this one.
I think you probably will.
Based on the
smells
smell.
good.
I'm getting that bourboniness that you would get from like the KBS or the Goose Island.
Yep, I'm definitely getting that bourbon.
Are you getting maple? I'm not sure if I am very much.
I feel like I'm probably not going to get much in the ways of smelling maple, but I'm guessing we're going to be tasting maple.
It's also not a good time to be smelling with the springtime coming on and all the
Yeah.
allergies.
The pollen down here in Nashville is a lot worse than other places I've lived.
Is it the first day of spring today?
Yes. Or it was yesterday.
I can't remember. Either the 21st or 22nd. But either way, this smells delicious. It's as dark as night.
It is.
I'm excited to see how bold it is. I'm expecting a really bold flavor.
I'm going to have to probably take like a 5-second break.
Yeah.
To try to figure out what flavors are going on.
And while you take that 5-second break, I'll fill the air.
Okay.
Well,
That's
as
a
we always
fart.
say on American Brews and Tunes, not that kind of fill the air, but maybe.
Anyway, sorry.
I'll fill the air with farts. Different kind of air to fill. I did have some kale last week. Like, I had kale 3 days in a row.
Did you get the kale farts?
Badly.
Really?
Yeah, like to the point where if you don't let them rip, you get a tummy ache.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's real bad.
Like, and they weren't really enjoyable farts. They were just like, I had to pass them because I didn't want to get a stomach ache.
Yeah, I'm sure some farts actually are kind of enjoyable, right?
I'm
You're
definitely 100% sure. I enjoy a good one.
They're like, all right, here it comes. And then you're like, ah.
And they just sound hilarious.
They really do.
When it's not enjoyable is when it's a shart.
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah. I always have... I can usually tell like 99.99% of the time if it's going to be a shart, and I'll not.
Yeah.
I won't roll the dice.
Yeah. Sometimes I can tell, but sometimes I'm less fortunate. And by that, I mean one time I was less fortunate.
That's all it takes is one time,
Yeah.
one bad time, and that kind of skews the data.
Yeah. It's real. It was bad.
But enough talk about sharts.
Yeah.
If you don't know what that is, look it up. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
As we always say on American Brews and Tunes before we try our beer, down the hatch with this big old beer. Well, it doesn't feel as thick as I was anticipating, but still thick. I was expecting it to feel sludgier. It's sweeter than I was expecting as well. Very, very sweet.
All right. Now that you've filled the air and my 5 seconds are up.
Yeah, well, you give your thought, and I'm going to give another sip and think about it.
It kind of moves like molasses through your palate.
The flavor wave.
Flavor wave. Yeah, it like starts in the front, like on your tongue, with like that kind of breadiness from the biscotti, and then it kind of moves into like a bourbon.
That's where you get the bourbon.
The bourbon central, and then it kind of moves away in the back of your mouth into like a chocolate almost, and then a slight little bit of maple sweetness at the end is what I'm getting.
Yeah.
I think it tastes pretty good.
Yeah, I'm enjoying this. It's
but
a
it
really
definitely
intense
is. This beer's flavor comes in waves.
beer. Yeah. Comes
The
in
flavor
waves.
comes in waves.
In waves. Ooh. And the flavors come in waves.
I'm going to go in for my second sip too.
I'm enjoying it. It's very sweet. I think if I had a choice, I would tone down the sweetness a little bit, but I'll make do and manage. You know?
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah, definitely.
Shall we jump into this phenomenal album?
Yeah.
All right, blink-182's 2003 masterpiece, the Untitled Album. Some people will argue that it's self-titled, that it's called Blink-182, Blink-182.
Not
but
correct.
that is technically incorrect. It's been confirmed by members of the band that it is in fact untitled. And the reason for that was because they had just put out 2 hugely successful albums, the first being Enema of the State, the second being Take Off Your Pants and Jacket.
Yeah.
Very comical titles, and they felt there was a lot of pressure to live up to the name, and they were trying to branch out musically, and they didn't want that to be like one of the main focuses, so they just left it untitled to focus on the music.
And then the confusion comes in where they have to like have a title for like record label purposes and whatnot.
Yeah, like if you go into a store and you look at the very top where there's that sticker, it usually would say Blink-182 and then the album title. And they want to put something for the album title to categorize it or classify it or catalog it, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So most places I've seen will call it Blink-182, Blink-182, even though it's technically
Blink-182.
incorrect. Yeah, just Blink-182 untitled.
Yep.
This was their fifth album.
Fifth album.
Yeah. Some people may argue the album numbers because their first demo, Buddha. There's a contention whether it's an album or not, but we're not going to get into semantics.
Schematics. We're not going to get into
semantics here. It is, however, their first departure as a full band, Blink-182, from that classic pop punk sound that they kind of pioneered.
Yep.
I'd say they're not the only ones who created that, but I feel like they really put it into the mainstream and kind of made that sound their own.
Yeah, I think so
and
too.
this album breaks apart from it in a big way. They kind of branched out into some darker sounds.
Very much darker sounds.
They explored more expansive arrangements, musically, sonically, structurally.
Way more like textures. It's not just a simple electric
guitar, bass, drum.
Yeah, overdriven guitar, bass, guitar, drums.
Maybe a lead line. There's a lot going on. I think that a big chunk of this sound shift came from the side projects that came out right before this album. So in between Take Off Your Pants and Jacket and this album, I don't know what Mark was doing, but Travis had joined the Transplants. That's a kind of a hip-hop punk.
They do that one song on the commercial.
Garnier Fructis commercial from way back.
Woo.
They've got like rap in it. It's a more hip-hop focused, I'd say, but Tim Armstrong from Ranson's in it. It's an interesting experiment. And Tom and Travis also had a different side project called Boxcar Racer. And from Travis's account, they were trying to branch off in something like the post-punk, like the hardcore sounds, and trying to experiment with that stuff that Tom didn't think would fit in with Blink necessarily.
Yeah.
But had that been released as a Blink album, I think it still would have been a perfect bridge between Take Off Your Pants and Jacket and the Untitled album, because I think it fits fairly well. Definitely some experimentation on that record, but they took it even farther on the Untitled album. The recording was a project in itself on this album.
A very long project.
And if you're ever curious about the actual recording, they had a documentary, whatever you want to call it, a little documentary special. I was going to call it a docu-series, but I corrected myself because it's just one episode.
Like a 45-minute episode.
It was made by MTV called Making the Album? Album launch or something like that?
Album launch.
If you go on YouTube and type in Blink-182 album launch MTV, you'll find it. It's maybe like a 40 minute thing. And it just follows them through the recording process. And they did a really unorthodox approach where they kind of rented out a house and converted it into a studio.
Yes.
They wrote as they recorded. They didn't go in having a full record already written.
Yep.
Ended up getting kicked out of one house, had to go into a different house. It was just a very long, almost like a year-long process.
Yeah, I think it was like 250 some days.
Yeah, and they were
they spent doing that.
They were doing their final mixes like hours before they had to turn in the masters to David Geffen, DG, whatever the record label is, Geffen Records.
Yep.
So they really worked hard on this, and it does show.
Yeah, it really does.
I think it's a great album, but it's their last album before they had a fairly lengthy hiatus.
Yeah.
There was a little bit of rift and stuff in the band, some inner turmoil. Plus, they've been touring nonstop, and they've just been... They all had families, and they were married and having kids.
Yeah.
So they went on a hiatus for 5 years or so after this album came out. Those are the dark days, if you ask me.
It's a fairly long hiatus.
Yeah, I was not happy about it. But good things happened in between. Mark and Travis had Plus 44. Great band. Tom did Angels and Airwaves. Also a great band, but some questionable releases. But shall we dive a little bit more into the Untitled album?
Let's do it.
Let's branch out. I'm not giving ratings. I think the album should be listened to front to back, but I will say my favorite songs.
Okay.
I am going to pick a couple to recommend just because I feel like I have to.
Okay.
And the first one that I recommend is the first song.
Is the first song
Feeling This.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a great song.
It is a great song. It's huge, very popular. You've probably heard it before. If not, look it up. Very catchy. It's the first single that was released from the album. I think this is around the time that file sharing was big, so I think this kind of got leaked on the internet maybe. But if you were a big fan of Blink-182 and knew all their couple albums before, and you heard this, you're like, whoa, this is...
Much different.
Much, much different. It's that first kind of taste that the album's not going to be the same. And this one's one of the more pop-punky sounding songs on the record. So
it definitely is,
they've only got more changes to come. The verses, like there's that guitar part, that and that kind of goes into the verse, and then the chorus that kind of switched up with like almost like a Latino sounding drum beat, cowbell, and it's a weird thing. Tom and Travis each wrote their own parts that they sing respectively and kind of brought them together. They're both about different aspects of love, however you will, however you may. But the drumming's killer on this album.
Yeah.
Like on this song.
And just the whole album.
The whole album.
Well.
Travis is a great drummer, but that when it starts off with that drum beat, it's almost like there's a little bit of a flange on the recording. So when you hear the drum beat, it's got that like I don't want to call it a phaser because it's a flange.
Yeah.
But it goes like kind of like affecting the sound of the drums. And it's, if you don't know what I'm talking about, just go and listen to it. The drums in that first like 15, 20 seconds.
Yeah.
And you'll know what I mean.
It's pretty clear.
Yeah. This is the song that kind of thrust me into my love of Blink-182. I had already liked their stuff before. I knew all the small things. I knew What's My Age Again, Adam's Song. I knew all the big singles because I listened to them on the radio and I saw them on TV. And my parents wouldn't let me get the records because of the parental stickers.
Because of all the swearing.
Yeah. And so I had to get the Now CDs to kind of find them until I found out that you could get the edited versions at Walmart. So I started buying those for a little while. But my guitar teacher in 6th grade taught me Feeling This on guitar. I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
And then typically when he would teach me a song, that would justify me asking my mom if I could go buy the album.
Oh, really?
So I bought this album and I was like, this is great. I can play all the songs on here. And then I went back and bought all their records and realized I don't need someone to teach me these songs. They're so easy.
Yeah.
I could play a whole record in one sitting.
Yeah.
So I credit this song and this album for kickstarting my love of Blink-182.
Yes.
The beginning of a beautiful relationship, if you will. But that's kind of my relationship with this song. I think it's great. One of my favorite songs. The outro of this song is so good.
Yeah.
It's got a lot crazy instrumental. The drums are going insane, but there's a 2 or 3 part harmony on the chorus, and then 2 other vocal lines being panned at the same time.
Yeah, it's not really like call and response, but it's like they just have
they counterpoint each other almost a little bit.
Yeah.
It sounds so awesome, and if you're just like listening to it like in a car, you just boost the volume in the last part. You're like, it sounds so good.
Sing along with multiple different parts as it ends. Great song.
Yeah, the production value is great on here, which it's worth noting that this was the final album produced by Jerry Finn, final Blink-182 album produced by Jerry Finn.
Yeah.
He had produced their past 2 or 3 records. Very notable name in like the pop punk scene, punk scene. But he passed away in 2007 or 8. I can't remember. Brain aneurysm, which is crazy.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. So let's move on to track number 2, which is called Obvious, and it's obvious that that's my second recommendation.
Oh, really? The first 2 songs?
Yeah, they're great.
Are you gonna do like a thing where you say you're gonna like recommend a few songs, but then you're just gonna continuously recommend every single song?
No, I probably recommended 4, maybe 5.
Okay.
I tried to limit myself.
Okay.
But it's difficult on this one. But Obvious is a great song. This kind of opens the post-punk, like dark sound.
Yeah, it has that like really chunky, is it a bass or a guitar playing at the beginning?
I believe it's a baritone guitar. I think it's a baritone.
Yeah, because it sounds a lot lower than a normal guitar.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know what a baritone guitar is, I believe it has a little bit of a longer neck.
Longer neck. I think it just brings it down.
Heavier strings, maybe?
I don't know about the heavier strings. It might just bring it down like, they might just insert like 3
lower notes,
3 frets.
I do think you need to get special
3 additional. You
strings
probably have to
for
get
it.
special strings. Yeah.
So you can play a guitar, but it's going to be lower in the register
Yeah.
if you're in the standard whatever that baritone tuning is.
So like your lowest note, instead of being an E,
it'll be like maybe a B or something. I don't know.
Yeah, something like that.
But if you listen to the guitar on here, it sounds really deep, and it adds that nice tone that really pushes this song forward, I think. The chorus, I think, is probably one of my favorite parts in this song. The "It's obvious." I think that's great. But later on in the song, they repeat the chorus, but they put another vocal line over it. I saw you again and again and again. That's a route to move on, to move on, to move on. It's obvious. And they put those 2 lines together. Those lines go together very well.
Yes, they do.
Yeah. But anyways, thematically, the song is about a guy who's found out that his significant other is cheating on him.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, that's what it's about. And he's trying to see if they can reconcile, if that's even possible. Like that last line is, how do we fix this if we never had vision? Like if we, does that mean if we didn't have the foresight for this? If
or just didn't,
can't see this coming?
Just couldn't see it
Yeah.
before.
So it's,
I guess.
dark theme for a dark song.
Great song, though.
It is a great song.
Fantastic song.
Let's move on to track number 3, which is called I Miss You. Not one of my choices.
I miss you.
This is the second single that was released.
Great
and
song.
again, another huge hit.
Yeah.
Most people probably know this song, even if they're not huge Blink fans. It was a big radio hit.
Mm-hmm.
Similarly to Feeling This, Tom and Mark both wrote their individual parts and then kind of brought them together. If you listen to their verses, they're very different.
Yeah.
And it's great, especially when Tom comes in. Where are you?
Yeah.
I'm over here.
It's like, like that meme.
Yeah, and Mark sings much deeper.
Yep.
Hello there.
Angel from my nightmare.
Classic.
Shadow in the background of the morgue.
This is a much softer song.
Definitely.
Than probably most songs on this album.
Yeah.
I believe all the instruments, other than the drums, were acoustic, but he did use brushes on the drums instead of drumsticks. There was a upright bass, acoustic guitar, and there's a string section that comes in a little bit later on. Such a well-produced song, very iconic.
Just an all-around fantastic song.
Yeah, it's about, I think, breakup and missing a girl.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, she's only a voice inside Tom's Ed.
Yeah.
You know?
His Ed.
Yeah, if you listen to the song, Tom sings with a weird accent.
You're already a voice
inside my Yed.
My Yed.
Whoever Yed is.
Yeah.
But great song.
Yeah, fantastic song.
Moving on to track number 4, which is called Violence.
Oh, yeah.
And
if
this
I were
is
to have
another one I
recommendations, I would recommend this
Yeah,
one.
this is my next one. So
So good.
it's my third recommendation.
This is also a very different sounding song, at least in the verses.
Super different. This song's about seeing a beautiful girl in a bar and falling for her, even though she kind of isn't really that into.
Isn't really that into him
or anyone in the bar. I don't know. It's a little obscure.
Mm-hmm.
But the verses are Mark and Tom kind of talk singing a little bit in octaves.
Yeah.
So they're just kind of doubling what each other is saying over this little drum beat. Can't count on the eyes that stare. Can't count on the eyes that see. It's just kind of an odd sounding verse, and you hear like, this is really different.
Down the drain.
1 hour is a waste of time. I'd ask if you feel the same. And they don't really talk about like
right on by
like these things normally in Blink songs. So
yeah.
Thematically, this album just really
Like,
takes a turn.
I would imagine whenever like really hardcore Blink fans like got their hands on this album, they were like the first song they were probably like, "Oh, this is great." Second song they were probably like, "Yeah, this is great." Third song they were like, "Oh, a little bit quieter, but this is still good." And then this song they were probably like, "What the heck is this?
Yeah,
like what's going on here?"
So different, and it's got that real soft, strange verse, and the chorus comes out like a bomb.
Mm-hmm.
Travis hits that one like snare at, dude, like violence. You held me forever and after. And he hits those R's real strange, like
Forever.
But that chorus is so good. And then the bridge comes later on, and it's super soft. Like this song is just a wide, like array of dynamics.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that was probably the goal, at least one of the goals in the song.
Yeah, I mean, I would think so. Like they're probably wanted to do something completely different for the verse, and then be like, no, our whole song's not going to be like that. It's still going to be like a punk song.
Yeah.
That
chorus
in the
is
chorus,
so catchy. This song ends with what some people call the Stockholm Syndrome interlude.
Yeah.
For some reason on like Spotify, it's separated as a separate track. I don't know if whatever you were listening to it on
It did
is.
as well, yeah.
I'm used to the old-fashioned medium, CDs,
yeah.
Cassette tapes, vinyls, whatever you want to do, and it's always at the end of Violence. It's connected to that song.
Yeah. And even listening, I listened to it on Pandora, and like I could definitely like hear how it would disconnect, how it would connect.
Oh yeah, there's a piano part playing in the background, which is a piano part that has some of the melodies from Stockholm Syndrome, the song that's about to come.
Mm-hmm.
The do 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 do, like it's playing that real slow and soft in the background while a lady comes in to read a letter.
My dearest.
The lady is actually an actress named Joanne Whalley. I didn't really know too much about her. I looked up her filmography. I knew some of her stuff, but I'm not super familiar with her. But the letter is from Mark Hoppus's grandfather to his grandmother during World War II.
Okay, I kind of figured there was something like that.
Oh yeah, it's about how he's like kind of depressed and missing her.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of really cool that it's like a super personal letter.
Yeah.
And because that lady's reading it, you think it's who it was addressed to almost. It sounds honest. But that interlude part brings us to track number 5, which is Stockholm Syndrome, and it's my next recommendation.
So good.
Stockholm Syndrome, like the thing that sticks out to me when I think about it is the arrangement is so odd. There's a lot of instrumental parts that are really cool, but if you were to do like an A B like versus chorus verse, it would be like A B A. It's like chorus, bridge, chorus almost.
That's kind of a chorus, I guess. It's more of like a refrain, right?
It's like refrain, verse or bridge. It's hard to say the next part, and then refrain.
Yeah.
But there's musical interludes and musical parts in between that are really awesome.
Yeah.
This is a big song, I'd say. They finally do some more back and forth that I would like to hear from Mark and Tom. Like Mark will say one line and Tom will respond like, "This is the first thing I remember. Now it's the last." They don't do it too often, but when they do, I love it. Like Pathetic on Dude Ranch, or Every Time I Look for You on Take Off Your Pants and Jacket. Yeah, such good because their voices are so different and just it really works together well. Going off the title itself, Stockholm Syndrome, do you know what that is?
Yeah, it's where the captive falls in love with her captor.
Yes,
or their captor.
His captor. We don't know.
Yeah, their captor.
But yeah, it's it's not really a syndrome. I'd call it a when I think of syndrome, I think of medical issue. This is more a psychological issue.
Yeah.
It's like a phenomenon where a hostage may sympathize with their captor.
Yeah.
It's a very strange thing because you think you would feel just disdain and hate towards someone who's holding you captive, but it does happen. There are actual accounts of it. Mark said, and I'm about to read a quote here, "This song is about paranoia, being afraid of the outside world, convinced that people can hear your thoughts." So it's really a paranoid sounding song. When you listen to the lyrics, you can really hear what he's talking about.
I like that.
I do too. Great song though. I really enjoy this song.
Fantastic. I think, is this the song where Mark reaches like his highest register?
You'll come with disappointment while I'm drowning in this. Yeah, he really hit some high notes for him. That's I don't think I can sing those ones. I saw him do the song live once. He had to sing it an octave lower. I can't blame him. I can't blame him. Got to save your voice for the rest of the show.
Yeah, that's true.
I wouldn't call Mark Hoppus a vocal virtuoso.
No,
not that there's anything wrong with that. That's not the style. It's not. You know?
Yep.
It almost would be weird if he was.
Yeah, if he was like a super good singer.
Yeah, I don't want operatic vocal melodies on a Blink-182 song.
Mark Hoppus never sing opera.
Yeah, just keep doing what you're doing because it's great. As if Mark Hoppus listens to this. Mark Hoppus, please.
Oh, hi, Mark.
Oh, hi, Mark. Let's move on to track number 6.
Let's do it.
This is called Down and is the third single released.
Down.
The drum beat is almost like a hip-hop type groove.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And when you hear it, and I think that's Travis's influence for sure.
Because he grew up listening to like rap, right?
He was like a punk guy, but he definitely is a big rap fan, and it shows here. Mm-hmm. At least in the verses and the musical parts. But this song's about a relationship, and here's a direct quote from Tom DeLonge. He says that this song is about a boy and girl in a car while it's raining outside. While this guy's saying and thinking these things about wanting to kiss her and sorry, my handwriting is bad. To kiss her and make her stay. So it's like raining. He's like, he wants her to stay. He wants to kiss her. Car. Like he's saying all these things to make her while the rain's pouring down. But maybe it's not going to happen. Who knows?
Yeah.
Very popular song. It's huge. It's a live staple. The video is popular. I like the song a lot. Just not one of my recommendations. Shall we move on?
Is that the song where he says, "This awkward silence makes me crazy"?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. When you think of an awkward silence when you're sitting alone with a girl in a car in the pouring rain.
Like,
yeah. I'll try and kiss you if
you let me.
Tidal waves, they
Rip right through me.
Great chorus, great song.
Yeah, superb.
Moving on to track number 7, which is almost connected to track number 6. This song is called "The Fallen Interlude."
She must have said no.
You must have said no. This song is.
This
This is probably the. It's an instrumental. I'd say it's an outlier. It comes in with that drum beat, with a bass groove,
Yep.
and some weird guitar lines played over top of it.
I really like it.
I do too, but it's so different. And there's this guy named Sick Jackson. He's from a rap group called Psycho Realm. I don't really know. But apparently they knew him.
I don't know him either.
And he came in and sang the only lines on here, which are down, 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 pick me up, I'm falling. And it just he repeats that over and over again. So it's definitely connected to the previous song, Down. Let's move on to track number 8, which is called Go.
Oh, yeah.
Another recommendation from me.
Is this your 5th one?
Yes. I'm trying to limit myself, man. This is probably the fastest song on the album, I'd have to say.
Yeah, I think so. Fastest, quickest. I wish it was longer.
I do too. I love this song. It's hard to tell, but it sounds autobiographical from Mark's point of view.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, one of the lines is him talking about...
like he even says his own
Mom,
name.
let's get in the car and just drive away.
She said,
I'm sorry, Mark, but there's nowhere to stay.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like some guy hurt his mom or something like that.
Probably his either stepfather or actual father, father-in-law, who knows, comes in and is abusive towards his mother, and they want to leave the abusive father, but then she realizes she can't.
Yeah.
For some reason, and gives up all hope and goes back inside.
Yeah. Cuts the engine, right?
Lets her bleeding heart and let the engine die.
Yeah, let the engine die. Yep.
So when it's a really like kind of happy sounding song, but when you listen to all the lyrics, like this is
pretty
not
crazy.
happy at all.
Yeah.
Because this is like admitting defeat and going back to an abusive man.
Yeah.
Go, because they want to go. I don't want to know. I don't want to know. And the music's great and it's fast and it's awesome, but it's such a like dark, not happy subject matter for a fast, upbeat, awesome song.
Yeah.
Let's move on to track number 9. Another recommendation from me. This song is called Asthenia. I believe I'm pronouncing that correct.
Yeah, I think so. Fantastic song.
Title is a term which is the breakdown of life in space. That was in the liner notes. Tom said it's about, and a direct quote, an astronaut sitting in a space capsule about the size of a car, floating above the Earth. He's contemplating if even coming back or not will make a difference on such a negative place. A song about the loss of hope. It's that very life contemplative kind of thing.
Yeah.
Tonally, it's a little bit more spacey and atmospheric, so it makes sense to be about a astronaut in space. I think this is a definite precursor to the Angels and Airwaves music to come, Tom's next project. The lyrics make total sense in that context when you listen to what he's saying. I love the bridge.
Yeah.
Because there's some awesome palm muted guitar parts, and it's just it's classic blink-182 where there's no words in the bridge, but
yeah, classic,
such a cool bridge. Like the way they wrote it, just set up so well. And I like the hand claps in the song. Doom, 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 doom. Good song though.
I like how it does. It's definitely a precursor to Angels and Airwaves, and it kind of sounds almost like
thematically and musically.
Yeah, definitely thematically and musically, and it reminds me of just like an '80s pop song.
But not as much as what's to come on track number 10. Always my next recommendation.
Yeah.
Recommendation number 6. This is the 4th single from the album.
Such a great song.
More of like Jesse said, like an '80s pop song.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would say dancey, but maybe dancey.
I definitely dance to it whenever I'm listening
I dance to it, but I don't know if I would say it's like super dancey. But it's
not dancey like electronic dancey.
But as far as Blink-182 goes, this song is dancey.
It's dancey.
Yeah. This song's about longing for an old relationship. I love the double time on the hi-hats during the chorus.
Yes.
Come on, let me... Like when he really hits those hi-hats so fast. Come on, let me hold you, touch you, feel you, always kiss you, taste you, all night, always. So good. Such a catchy song.
Yeah.
Not as big, like mainstream or charting-wise than the previous singles, but...
I like it, though.
Oh, I do, too. Such a great song.
Mm-hmm.
There's a music video. I don't know if you've ever seen it. And it's a split screen horizontally. So there's like 3 bars across the screen. and it's all about each of the band member trying to win the affection of the exact same girl.
Oh,
and
really?
the way they line it up, it almost looks like they're the same person until you see their faces.
Oh,
It's
okay.
so well put together, and it's kind of comical, but it's a really, really cool video. So if you haven't seen it, give that a watch.
I will.
Well put together.
Nice.
I don't have it written down here, but if you look at the liner notes on the album, Mark said that there were 4 basses playing at the end.
Yeah.
A regular bass, another one that was doubling a line, and then one that had like a synth, one that was like modded for a synth, or I don't know what pedal he's going through, that you can't tell it's a bass guitar.
I think I saw. It almost looks like a mix between a bass and a keytar. Because I think I saw the same. I saw what you're talking about in that little documentary.
Oh, that would probably be it then.
It was like a really weird, like square white bass that had like golden keys on it,
Mm-hmm.
and the neck was like, I don't know. It looked weird.
Strange. Yeah, but let's move on to track number 11, shall we?
Yes.
This song is called Easy Target, and it's another fast and aggressive song.
Yeah.
This song's about a girl named Holly who's cunning and evil and looking to hurt somebody. I don't know if you found out what this song's about or not, did you?
I did not know.
You can kind of see in the liner notes what the story is, but if you look up even more, you can figure it out. It's about Jerry Finn, their producer, who liked a girl in middle school, and she invited him over, but when he showed up, her and one of her friends sprayed him with a hose, and he like left
Really?
being real embarrassed.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I think her name was Holly, so that's one. That's why they referenced being dry
Yeah.
in the song, because he got hosed. So it's
Oh my gosh.
not as sinister as the song makes it sound, but
Yeah, it definitely sounds more sinister. Yeah.
yeah, like let her slip my throat, give her ammo if she'll use it.
Yeah.
Caution on the run, lies and hidden danger.
In California is mommy's little monster.
Which that's a reference to a Social Distortion song called Mommy's Little Monster.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But great song, and it ends on a little musical motif that goes do 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 do, and it slows and slows and slows until it segues into track number 12 on an acoustic guitar that plays bum 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 bum, and that song is called All of This. So it's a
song.
awesome segue between the
Yeah.
two songs. Beautifully made. This song is another outlier, I'd say, on the album. It's
Definitely
slower.
is.
It's got some guest vocals again.
Sure does.
Very different from the guest vocals on the Fallen interlude. These ones were sang by the lead singer from The Cure, Robert Smith.
Mm-hmm.
Both,
Awesome.
at least Mark and Tom, I'm sure Travis was too, but they were huge fans of The Cure.
Yeah.
And they said that they weren't sure that he would be interested because they thought, like, if they were to inquire with him, they'd be like, "Oh, this Ben's a joke. I don't want to do."
It's a joke.
But he loved it, and he recorded his stuff and sent it back to them.
I love this. I blah, blah,
And
blah.
his voice just works so well, and it's about Holly again. When you listen to the chorus,
really?
"Use me, Holly, come
Oh,
on."
that's
in."
what it is?
Yeah, so it's tied to the last song again. So it's nice that they kind of brought that back.
Interesting.
So
I love that song, though.
great song.
Like, the only driving force in that song is, like, the drums and his voice, pretty much.
And it ends with just drums by itself on that
Yeah.
song. But after a
So
slow
good.
song, they got to pick it back up with track number 13
Oh, yeah.
called "Here's Your Letter."
Here's a letter for you.
But the words get confused and the conversation dies. This song's about agonizing over a broken relationship and wanting to fix it, but knowing that it's probably over.
Yeah.
Like talking about the letters. I can't let this kill me. Let go. Such a good song, and it's
I
all
need some more
Mark.
time to fix this.
It's a rager of a song. I love this
Yeah.
one. So it's nice that it's planted in between two of the slower songs.
Yeah, definitely.
The previous and the next.
the
next,
last
which is the
song.
last song on the album, track number 14, which is called "I'm Lost Without You."
Yeah.
Good closer. It's, again, not what I would have expected from Blink
Exactly.
if
Yeah,
I
definitely.
hadn't heard any of this album before. And if you listen to their previous albums, all their last songs are fast, like intense songs. Not like this at all.
Yeah.
So this is maybe like the start of a new era of Blink. Maybe I don't know what they're going for here.
I think it works. Whatever they went for, they
It works.
nailed it.
Thematically, this is about a significant other dying and trying out, like, to figure out how to move or go on without them.
Yeah.
And it's when I figured that out, I was like, oh, this is
Yeah.
kind of really sad.
Yeah.
Like, I figured it was like about breaking up, but when you run it through the context of somebody's dead and you're trying to figure out how to pick up the pieces or move on without that, it's
yeah, that'd be
real dark. Very beautiful
really
song.
intense.
It does pick up at the very end when the drums come in and it gets real intense. Travis was playing 2 separate drum kits. I think he recorded the first part, and according to the liner notes, they kind of scrapped that and put that out of his headphones, and he just played to a click and did another fill at the end. Yeah, so
interesting.
It's really cool hearing those 2 drum sets go off of each other. All in all, great album.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic.
Over 15 years later, still holds up.
Yeah.
The production value is great. This is worth listening to.
Multiple times over.
Especially if you can find one that's got the bonus track, Not Now. I think that's another killer song. We're not going to talk about that one because it's not on the album, but it's really good. If you can find that song, listen to it. I think it should have been on the album. But great album.
Yeah.
I've got nothing bad to say about it. Absolutely at all.
Agreed.
If you look at the cover, you see that smiley face. It's the first time that they used that, and it kind of became their logo.
Oh, it is.
Yeah. It's
Okay, so it wasn't always their logo.
No, someone, I can't remember who penned this.
I think in the documentary they touch on that.
They probably
It's
do.
like some artist who made that.
Yeah,
I
but
can't
someone
remember.
sent it and they loved it, and it just looks like it's kind of like stenciled graffiti on the cover.
Yeah.
It's even got some drippage going on.
Yeah.
It was my very first tattoo.
Yes, it was.
Yeah,
I remember that.
I'll never get a tattoo, and then I got a tattoo.
And you were like, I'll get more tattoos.
You know, after that, I was like, nah, one and done. And then a year later, I was like, I gotta get more.
I need to get more.
But I love this album. I'm
So do
not
I.
sure what we're going to do for one-offs in the future, but we have albums picked out for next week's episode.
we
It's another
do.
regularly scheduled podcast. I've recommended the album, what's it called? It's
Brother-
Dropkick Murphys, and the album is called, hold on.
Brother in his arms, something like that. Warrior Code.
So I've recommended an album for Jesse called The Warrior's Code by the Dropkick Murphys. It's a killer album. If you've never heard it, it's got the song Shipping Up to Boston.
Fantastic.
Yeah. And I believe that he had recommended for me an album by the Two Door Cinema Club called The Tourist is Alive. The Tourist Rides at Midnight. What's it called again, Jesse?
The Tourist Rides at Midnight.
Is that what it's called?
No. It's not called that. It's called Tourist History.
That's close.
The Tourist Rides at Midnight.
Yeah. 2 very different albums, I'd say.
Yeah, I think so.
But along with the different albums, we'll both have our own separate different beers next week.
Yes.
Any thoughts on this one? I think the maple comes through a lot more as it's kind of warmed up.
Yeah, it's warmed
It's
up.
got
The maple
little
comes through a lot more, and the booziness kind of goes away a little bit. No, I don't know if that's just because this beer is so old. Because how long have you had this beer?
I've had this one for a little while.
Yeah. Best guess?
Let me see if I can find a date on the bottle. They should date their bottles. I think that's the law. But I've had it for a little while, so it might have rubbed off.
Probably. So we know it's at least over a year, probably over 2 years old. 3 years old even.
Probably not 3, maybe 2.
2. Yeah, maybe it lost some of its potency.
Potent potable.
Potent potables. Potent potables for 200, Trebek.
I don't see it on here, but that's okay. We'll just guess.
Let's say it's about 2 years old, probably.
Yeah, let's say that.
So maybe if it was fresh, it would be way more intense.
But yeah,
Or
but
maybe it's a good
mellowed
thing.
out a little bit.
Maybe it's a good thing that it mellowed out and the flavors were far too intense if it was fresh.
Either way, good episode.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts before we sign off?
I just want to say that I had not listened to that album a lot before we were going to do this one-off, and I have been consistently playing it in my car.
It's such a good album.
Like
really
whenever
is.
I'm driving between things at work, it's just so good. I just literally on Pandora, you can add music to your queue, and I just have that in there like 5 times.
Nice.
The whole album.
And I
It's
just think
so good.
It was such a game changer for the pop punk scene. I
Yeah,
think.
for them as a band and just for everybody.
After Enema of the State came out, there was so many bands that kind of emulated that exact same sound
Yes.
over and over again. So they
Blink-182
pushed
had to
themselves
take charge.
to change.
Yeah.
And it worked big time. And this beer also worked.
Big
But let's
time.
let's finish, sign off, and then cheers towards next week.
Sounds good.
Once again, my name is Stephen Johnston,
And my name is Jesse Titus.
and this is American Brews and Tunes.
Here's a theme song, you know it's not a mean song. It's a good song, just as it should song. American Brews and Tunes. Shibbity-beebity.